be of use in some quarter. Do you stay, or go?'
'Dolly,' said Emma, in a hurried manner, 'my dear girl, this is our last hope. If we part now, it is only that we may meet again in happiness and honour. I will trust to this gentleman.' 'No, no, no!' cried Dolly, clinging to her. 'Pray, pray do not!' 'You hear,' said Emma, 'that to-night, only to-night, within a few hours, think of that, you will be among those who would die of grief to lose you, and who are now plunged in the deepest misery for your sake. Pray for me, dear girl, as I will for you, and never forget the many quiet hours we have passed together. Say one God bless you. Say that at parting.'
But Dolly could say nothing. No, not when Emma kissed her cheek 100 times, and covered it with tears, could she do more than hang upon her neck, and sob, and clasp, and hold her tight. 'We have time for no more of this,' cried the man, unclenching her hands, and pushing her roughly off, as he drew Emma Haredale towards the door. 'Now, quick, outside there! Are you ready?' 'Ay!' cried a loud voice, which made him start. 'Quite ready. Stand back here, for your lives!' And in an instant he was felled like an ox in the butcher's shambles, struck down as though a block of marble had fallen from the roof and crushed him, and cheerful light and beaming faces came pouring in, and Emma was clasped in her uncle's embrace, and Dolly, with a shriek that pierced the air, fell into the arms of her father and mother. What fainting there was! What laughing! What crying! What sobbing! What smiling! How much questioning, no answering, all talking together, all beside themselves with joy! What kissing, congratulating, embracing, shaking of hands, and falling into all these raptures, over and over and over again! No language can describe. At length, and after a long time, the old locksmith went up and fairly hugged two strangers, who had stood apart, and left them to themselves. And then they saw whom? Yes, Edward Chester and Joseph Willet. 'See here!' cried the locksmith. 'See here! Where would any of us have been without these two? Oh, Mr Edward! Oh, Joe, Joe! How light, and yet how full, you have made my old heart to-night!' 'It was Mr Edward that knocked him down, sir,' said Joe. 'I longed to do it, but I gave it up to him. Come, you brave and honest gentleman, get your senses together, for you haven't long to lie here.' He had his foot upon the breast of their sham deliverer, in the absence of a spare arm, and gave him a gentle roll as he spoke. Gashford, for it was no other, crouching yet malignant, raised his scowling face, like sin subdued, and pleaded to be gently used.
'I have access to all my lord's papers, Mr Haredale,' he said in a submissive voice. Mr Haredale keeping his back towards him, and not once looking round. 'There are very important documents among them. There are a great many in secret drawers, and distributed in various places, known only to my lord and me. I can give some very valuable information, and render important assistance to any inquiry. You will have to answer it, if I receive ill usage.'
'Pah!' cried Joe, in deep disgust. 'Get up, man. You're waited for outside. Get up. Do you hear?' Gashford slowly rose, and picking up his hat, and looking with a baffled malevolence, yet with an air of despicable humility, all round the room, crawled out. 'And now, gentlemen,' said Joe, who seemed to be the spokesman of the party, for all the rest were silent, 'the sooner we get back to the Black Lion, the better, perhaps.' Mr Haredale nodded assent, and drawing his niece's arm through his, and taking one of her hands between his own, passed out straightway, followed by the locksmith, Mrs Varden, and Dolly, who would scarcely have presented a sufficient service for all the hugs and caresses they bestowed upon her, though she had been a dozen Dollys. Edward Chester and Joe followed. And did Dolly never once look behind? Not once? Was there not one little fleeting glimpse of the dark eyelash, almost resting on her flushed cheek, and of the downcast sparkling eye it shaded? Joe thought there was, and he is not likely to have been mistaken, for there were not many eyes like Dolly's, that's the truth. The outer room through which they had to pass was full of men, among them Mr Dennis in safe keeping, and there had been since yesterday, lying in hiding behind a wooden screen which was now thrown down, Simon Tappertit, the recreant 'prentice, burnt and bruised and with a gunshot wound in his body, and his legs, his perfect legs, the pride and glory of his life, the comfort of his existence, crushed into shapeless ugliness. Wondering no longer at the moans they had heard, Dolly kept closer to her father, and shuddered at the sight, but neither bruises, burns, nor gunshot wound, nor all the torture of his shattered limbs, sent half so keen a pang to Simon's breast, as Dolly passing out, with Joe for her preserver. A coach was ready at the door, and Dolly found herself safe and whole inside, between her father and mother, with Emma Haredale and her uncle, quite real, sitting opposite. But there was no Joe, nor Edward, and they had said nothing. They had only bowed once, and kept at a distance. Dear heart, what a long way it was to the Black Lion! End of chapter 71.